Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Yes, what a beautiful Thursday morning, and we're excited that you spend your morning with us today. My name is David Kwikusechi.
And I am Dziffa Ametam. Thank you guys again for spending your day with us. It is an interactive show, so wherever you're watching us from, we do want to hear from you. Just use the hashtag Breakfast Daily to join the conversation.
Yes, and our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. If you happen to be outside Ghana, kindly prefix that number with +233.
Now it's time for us to take a look at some words of inspiration with our quote of the day.
Yeah. So the quote of the day today comes from Oscar Wilde. Says, always forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them so much. Always forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them so much. I really believe in forgiveness. I believe in letting things go. I believe in the fact that forgiveness actually hurts the carrier of lack of forgiveness hurts the carrier of the
pain,
the offense, the pain, the hurt, and everything else. It doesn't really do anything to the other person. So letting go is just the best thing you can do. It makes you positive, it makes you lightweight, it makes you smile, and then it irritates your enemies. It's like, why are they so happy? But you've let it go, you've moved on.
Definitely. And even the Bible says it. When you look at Matthew 6:14, it says, for if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. Literally the only Bible verse I know.
Well, you see, the funny thing is that on the floor, everybody's smiling because Dziffa just quoted the scripture and like, oh my goodness.
But when you think of all the sins you've committed against God and you're always asking for forgiveness, and someone does something little to you and you want to stretch it till you die, and it's just exhausting to carry that weight, because most of the time, the person who has offended you, they've moved on with their life, and you're holding on to this thing, and not everyone you forgive will be deserving of it. There are people who are going to offend you and would never ask you for forgiveness. So if you are waiting for that, it's just extra baggage that you don't need. So for your own peace of mind, to ensure that you don't carry it on to your future experiences, forgive them. But by all means, don't forget. And it doesn't mean they have the right to come back and continue offending you. But you forgive them for your own peace of mind, and then you just move on with your life.
I love it. There's nothing like a good sermon on a Thursday morning. So, yesterday, we had this experience of the fire gutting the market. And it's interesting because this morning there was also another fire that also started raging in Sakumono. And I just think it's so important for us to become more cautious about how we handle things in terms of building structures, wiring, and all of that. It's so important. But the president...
Yes, but before even the president, Caleb Kuda was there with them yesterday morning, and a lot of the market women were saying they took out loans. They've not even paid back the loans yet. Now all of their things have burned to the ground. They don't know how to
You're going to recover
survive.
From this,
So we're going to give them the president one, but let's hear what they told Caleb Kuda.
Okay.
Na jome kwa mi ko nti mbedu na adwo na nti e bo be 2 ye na obi frɛ me ase eja to market mu me so me di loan na ye adwuma me ye ti na fa nwi bebre wo shop wa ma gi loan de ye adwuma me gi ye kwa wa ma nta se na me tuafo asla ban ase wo mu ye mbo no ma ase o je bo se me o bla 70 million to scan 7,000 na fa na me tuafo ewo me bi ase me anyi ba kokula bi ase me beautician me shan nails ne pedicure on me sane man o de na nwi kan bibi aka iti also waje bosia o de adwuma atwan say ade 40,000 yeah what me atua mo bi
I fed them at you 2 pay. You mamunya, and I had you man 1 day near the upper years. See, I bread word you man when then so be Raphael, so everybody betting how best I say, Janaya now, so but another day I bay dear. Ya fashe kula wa hase.
Adia wa inside door. Me nema nyina asia me machine. Ntuma nipa bebre nema amagye na ba ko bebra ma be. Suna me bob me kra me bob se na me beji ade no.
Obu say
50 million.
1,005.
Na me giye. Me machine ni ani nema no ntuma ni nyina ahye. Ntuma be nipa be say menim nipa ne don so mu nyina niema ne nyina asie
ya niema nyina ahye amfa pi kra se se mu se mo meboaye meje 20 million 2,000 what be tie mu bi da bi o afa na ya start business nso e bi bia oh me ya hairdresser me de kofa niema de se me show.
So there you see so many of them out there really at a loss of what it is that they're going to do in the coming days and weeks, because everything literally has been burned to the ground, and in some cases actually looted, stolen, and how to recover, how to pay back loans when the very thing you bought the loans for are gone and you can't produce, you can't be productive. It's sad. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But thankfully, the president was there yesterday with Kosiyanki, the National Board for Small Scale Industries boss, and he says that within the next 2 weeks, the NBSSI will provide some support for some 3,000 market men and women there. So that's relief, because most times we hear some of these things happening, we don't really see any sort of support. Most of them don't even have any insurance policies. And they were saying yesterday, we're just going to go home. We have nothing. Christmas is just about to come, and we've lost everything. So it's at least light at the end of the tunnel that the president will come to their rescue through the MBSSI.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's important, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be just about ad hoc measures because of maybe election season or whatever. But we need to have it, because we don't have safety nets that are well built and tight, to protect people in these kinds of situations. We need to make sure that whenever these kinds of things happen, at least in the interim, we do come in and intervene and cushion the shock. Cushion the shock a bit. I think it's important. Of course, the flag bearers of the opposition, the running mates also was there, as well, to express her sympathies with them as well. And I think that all that also counts for something, So I think it's important for us to be able to do that. But the president was there. Let's take a look at that.
Hello. Madamase. Aye. SMS wa antina me bae. Se me dia me ameni baba ready akoso. Na MC num one of the say Juma one year one shops in Arsenal. Ye trotro bi edi na yahwe emwa abanso betumi dia ba beboa wo wona tumi asa wona aduma ase na wiring na wa ha no so no aban baba ye wiring wo market and wo kra nyina baba ye nyina ya rese bibisa ya ma bibisa ensibio timo to mo ase bibia be ye e be hwani aye bibia me da maso nya mi samunya akoma me da maso papa
Yes, so there we see the president there attending to the people and expressing his sympathy and also promising them that he's going to intervene and at least cushion their pain a bit.
Yeah.
You know? I feel as though some people may need a bit more, some people may not need as much, but whatever it is that is needed, I think this intervention is important.
Yeah.
Okay, it's timely, and within the next 2 weeks, hopefully, everybody would have received something, you know, that will help them.
Yeah, but the NBSSI will have a lot of work to do because I don't know how they're going to go about even verifying.
And assessing.
You know, you have 3,000 people that you're going to look at. Maybe those who took out loans can show proof that indeed they went to take out the loans.
Yeah.
But what about the rest who genuinely lost their things but have no proof? Because it's still a segment of the informal sector.
I do see how it can be a bit difficult, but then also there should be an official list of people who have taken spaces in there, you know, so there are allotments. The pedestrian market shopping mall has an official list of people who are tenants in there, you know, and they pay tolls regularly. So that list can be provided, you know, I'm sure, either by AMA or whoever is in charge of that space there would have a list, you know, so they could go by the list. And then also people need to, you know, come and prove that you actually took a loan of this amount or whatever and so on. And then,
but it will still be challenging because how many days do we have till Christmas? A little over a month.
Yeah.
How long would it take for them to actually physically get the money? Christmas is their cocoa season.
Yeah.
So even if you get the money 2 weeks from today, you still have to go out there and buy the products, figure out how to stock.
But even the space that is there, you know, that space has to be cleaned up and, you know, put back in shape and all of that. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, so I'm hoping other markets will learn from this experience and people will really be careful because we know that some of our market women live in these spaces, they cook there, you have gas cylinders all over the place, and sometimes it just takes one person not paying attention to what you're doing for an incident like this to happen and really just disrupt the lives of 3,000 people, over 3,000 people. So it's really important that we pay attention, especially in this Christmas season.
Yeah. So again, this morning, Sakumono School Complex, the building was on fire, and so there we have it. We can see some images there on the screen of the school going up in flames. I think it's so important for us to be careful with things like wiring, you know, and I'm happy that the president also said that he's going to get the place rewired. Okay, he's going to rewire not only the Circle Market but all the other markets in the Greater Accra region. That's not going to be a small task, you know, but I'm hoping that, as he said it, you know, whoever is responsible to ensure that it happens, you know, is on top of their work and make sure that all this is taken care of, because we can't keep doing this. This is not the first. The second fire we experienced is not the first one, you know, of its kind. We've had other fires.
Even in Kumasi, not just even in Accra. You know, in Kumasi we've had several in just last year alone, and I think sometimes it's just we don't educate our market men and women enough. We need to invest more in preventive measures. It's great that this has happened and there's some light at the end of the tunnel and BSSI is going to come to their rescue, but I'm sure all of them would have been better off if it hadn't happened in the first place. So just as we go in there, we take monies from them, we engage them one-on-one, we need more people in our markets to engage them. These are the things you should be looking out for. You know, thankfully, we didn't suffer any casualties, but there's a lot of monies that have been lost. Some of these market people don't even take their monies home. They keep them in the shops. But they may not be able to say that to the public that I've lost X amount of money in my shop. So I think part of making sure that we protect our market spaces will have to be deliberately educating them on things that you should not bring to your shop, things to avoid, because we all take these things for granted. It's so clustered in there that if something happens in one shop, you can't just contain it in that small area. It will just spread within minutes.
Very quickly,
and even the fire service also had issues of you come in
Access,
and it's difficult to get access. You run out of water, all these problems. We can't afford to continue like this because that's revenue that's been lost. Somebody's family has now had to scale down on whatever it is that they have to do, be it school fees. Most of these people are breadwinners of their families, and they have to deal. Caleb said some of the women even passed out because we saw yesterday someone is walking to her shop. She's heard the news. She's hoping that it wouldn't be her shop. She gets there and everything has burned to the ground. And they've already had a very tough year. Coronavirus hit everyone. So you are hoping that this Christmas will be your cocoa season. You go out to get all this inventory, hoping that you'll cash in, and then this happens.
So I think that a part of the restorative process also has to be not just educating, but also punishing people who do the wrong thing. Because there are people there who do illegal connections. Illegal connections are a major cause of, random sporadic fire outbreaks. Okay, because you're just thinking of your selfish, immediate comfort. So you tap into the wrong source, you tap into, and it may not cause any damage immediately, but it's just disaster waiting to happen. Sometimes they're doing the illegal connection, they're using the wrong gauge of wiring. And if you use the wrong gauge of wiring, the wire starts to get hot. By itself, it's just heating up. Too much resistance, and it's just starting to heat up. And as it heats up, you don't know this, but you're going home, and suddenly a spark, a small flame comes, and the place there's wood, there's wooden structures, there's polystyrene, there's all kinds of things that are flammable, and suddenly it's just disaster. So I think it's important for us to do the right things.
It's now time for us to take a look at news making rounds across the various regions in the country with News Roundup.
Good morning and welcome to News Roundup on Citi TV. From the Ashanti region, I'm Edward upon Marvel. Coming up, the family of a 31-year-old man who died in a shooting incident at Ayeduase in the Ashanti region is blaming the police for his death, despite the police's claim that the deceased attempted suicide. The family has denied reports that the deceased, Francis Zabanga, shot himself in Tuesday's incident. The deceased allegedly shot a 52-year-old man, Kwame Amwa, who they both engaged in an altercation in a road rage at Ayeduase near the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Relatives of Francis Zabanga claim their narration is supported by a video circulating on social media which runs counter to the police's description of the incident. But police in the Ashanti region explained that Francis Zabanga, after allegedly shooting Kwame Amwa in the course of the misunderstanding, shot himself in the head. But Francis and Amwa later died at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital while on admission. Meanwhile, at the residence of Kwame Amwa, sympathizers and neighbors trooped in to commiserate with his widow and the 5 children he left behind. Moving on, the Chief of Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, Major General Thomas Oponpepra, says his outfit will support the police service and other security agencies to deal with threats or disturbances that may arise before, during, and after the December polls. He says the Ghana Armed Forces are ready to collaborate with key stakeholders to ensure a violent-free process. In December, he made a remarks when he paid a courtesy call on the Asantehene Otumfuo Sage to the second at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi. The Chief of Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, Major General Thomas Oponpepra, was in the Ashanti region on a working visit to various commands to assess the operational, administrative, and logistical requirements of the troops. Finally, some preterm mothers in the Ashanti region have called on the government and health authorities to capture all costs incurred in taking care of preterm babies under the National Health Insurance Scheme. According to them, the extra costs they incur in taking care of preterm babies tend to put pressure on most parents. a situation they have described as worrying. Speaking at an event on Tuesday at the Kumasi South Hospital to commemorate World Prematurity Day, the preterm mothers also appealed to authorities to intensify sensitization on issues concerning preterm babies to psychologically prepare Ghanaians. According to them, many of them had little knowledge of it until they experienced it. At the Kumasi South Hospital, for instance, a team has been dedicated to taking care of preterm babies and their mothers. Speaking to Citi News at an event to commemorate World Prematurity Day, the head of the pediatric unit at the facility, Dr. Rita Yeboah, called for the need for government and other stakeholders to support in caring for preterm babies. That's all for News Roundup on Citi TV from the Ashanti region. My name is Edward Opormafo. Many thanks for watching.
Welcome to yet another edition of today's episode of Citi News Roundup with me, Mohammed Aminu M. Alabira. The fourth edition in the series of memorial lectures in honor of the late Vice President Alhaji Aliu Mahama has been organized in Yendi in the northern region. The occasion also marked the 8th year of his passing into eternity. Guest speaker for the occasion, Information Minister Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, called on all, especially the youth, to emulate the leadership qualities of the late former Vice President. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah identified such qualities as discipline and diligence, among others, that the late Alhaji Aliu Mahama applied in all his dealings. He is optimistic. If the youth emulate such qualities, their future and that of the country will be assured. The minister urged especially the youth of today to avoid shortcuts and be focused on. It's been exactly 1 week today when the former president Jerry John Rawlings passed on after a short illness. His death came as a shock to everyone. This has led to the suspension of campaign activities by the two major political parties, the NDC and MPP. Lastly, some 5 persons are currently in the grips of the Yendi police for allegedly gang raping an 18-year-old girl at Mongwasi in the Zabzugu district. The police say investigations are still ongoing and further assured that the suspect will be arraigned. And this is the end of today's edition with me, Mohammed Aminu M. Alabira, for Citi News Roundup.
Good morning. You're welcome to the news from the Central Region. My name is Georgina Apia. The chief fisherman of Mori in the Abra Asebo Kwamankese district of the Central Region of Farin-Ukweja has bemoaned the fast pace at which fishing London sites are being taken over by private developers. He cited Mori, Cape Coast, and Anomabu among other communities in the Central Region where London beaches have been taken over and used for hotels and restaurants, among others. He has thus appealed to the government and benevolent organizations to come to the aid of fishermen by helping register London sites in the name of the various beaches. The chief fisherman of Farin-Ukweja spoke to Citi News shortly after a workshop on securing use rights to London beaches by the Environmental Justice Foundation. According to him, the 5,000 cedis fees charged for registering London sites is above what the fishermen can afford, hence the current situation. Citi News' checks revealed a number of restaurants are dotted along the coastal belt of Cape Coast and surrounding communities, with new ones coming up each day. Still in Cape Coast, the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Charles Oredu, has called on Ghanaians to explore opportunities that ECOWAS brings to the sub-region in order to improve upon their living standards. Charles Oredu was speaking to newsmen on the sidelines of a sensitization workshop on ECOWAS protocols and conventions at Cape Coast. The workshop, the first in a series to be organized across the country, was to improve on ECOWAS visibility in the country and also enable the citizenry better appreciate the organization's contributions to the socio-economic development of the sub-region. The Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration challenged Ghanaian traders to take advantage of the opportunities the regional body offers. And finally, residents of Intranwa electoral area in the Commander Edina Iguafo Abre municipality of the Central Region want the government to urgently fix their roads. The Intranwa electoral area comprises Atongpa, Kofo, Abina, and Intranwa communities. Residents say for years they have had to live with the deplorable nature of their roads, which they insist impact negatively on their livelihood. The residents have indicted successive governments for failing to address their needs. They cited the 8-kilometer stretch from Atongpa to Intranwa, which they say lacks drainage systems, hence gets flooded anytime it rains, thus halting economic activities. The assemblyman for the area, Samuel Osu Boabing, disclosed that since the road was constructed in the 1990s, it hasn't seen any major redevelopment. The end of the news.
And that's all for the news roundup. But we have a packed show today.
Oh, we do have a packed show today. There's a lot of conversations that we're going to have later.
Tax Dialogue folks will be here.
Yeah, they're going to be here, and you know the Tax Dialogue guys are very into their the conversations on tax and all that. We're going to be looking at the MPP manifesto and the direct revenue mobilization conversations.
I
there.
can't wait.
Yeah, all right.
But thank you guys for staying. My name is Dziffa Ametam.
And I'm David Kwekusechi.
News reviews next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
There is no promise we cannot keep. There is no commitment we cannot honor. There is no delivery we cannot guarantee. There is only one Bethel Logistics Company Limited, a licensed international freight forwarding and clearing agent, a trusted global brand with an extensive network for the movement of air freight and ocean freight worldwide. We are the trusted name for road freight into Western and Northern Africa. We are fully accredited by Ghana Customs and Excise. We cater for all your freight forwarding, customs clearing and forwarding, cross trades, inland transportation, internal cargo tracking systems, customer freight costing and consultancy, cold chain logistics management, logistics and warehousing, quality inspection, and much more. In Accra, Tema, and Takrady, we are always available to ensure easy movement of cargo countrywide. Call us on 0204 528 900 or 0244 707 859. Email info@bethellogistics.com. Locate us in Accra at North Ridge, adjacent Accra Girls High School, or in Tema at Community 4, or in Takrady on the second floor of the GCB building. Website bethellogistics.com. Bethelog, experts in shipping logistics.
Since 2017, a new dawn is breaking in Ghana. The NPP is building the foundations for growth and transformation. We are curbing unemployment with new and decent jobs.
Thanks to Nana, I've got a new job through NAPCO. That is why I'm voting for him as the MPP.
The promise of free SHS is now a reality.
Through education, I have a brighter future. That's why I'm voting for Nana and the NPP.
The future of our country is in the hands of a competent leader, a man you can trust.
I trust Nana.
This December, let's protect our progress. Let's give Nana 4 more to do more for you.
2020, 4 more for Nana. 2020, 2020, yes, Nana.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the News Review segment on Breakfast Daily. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. Let's take a look at the major stories on the front pages of the newspapers in the country before we move online, beginning with the Daily Graphic. Resignation of Special Prosecutor Amidu's claims disingenuous, presidency affirms. Black Shield customers, others to receive parts of locked up funds. Stories on page 13. And government launches 100 billion Ghana cedis economic recovery blueprint. So the Ghanaian Times. No interference in your work. Office of the President dismisses the resigned OSP's allegations. Fire guards pedestrian mall in Accra. Over 300 shops, metal containers, goods burnt. Story on page 12. Comes with a picture of the what is left, the rubbles and the debris at the gutted pedestrian mall, just a few blocks away from here in Adabraka. Government authorizes partial payment to customers, collapsed fund management companies. Rawlings reports fake account to police. Comes with a picture of Kimathi Rawlings. And President directs NBSSI to give Odona fire victims cash. The banner headline says, "You told lies, I gave you money." President debunks Martin Amidu's claims. To the Business Finder. Industry Development Partners back CARES program. World Bank pledges a further $20 million. Customers of defunct fund management companies to get 50,000 Ghana cedis. U.S. supports Ghanaian women entrepreneurs. That's also another story on the front page of the Business Finder. Let's do some online stories now, beginning with citynewsroom.com. Martin Amidu's resignation came as a surprise. OSP Board Chair Linda Ofoyi-Kwafo, so Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. EC dismisses claims of missing security personnel on special voters list. Comes with a picture of Dr. Shebo Kwako, Director of Electoral Services, Electoral Commission. We have 18 days to the crucial December 7th, 2020 polls. Fire raises parts of Sakumono School Complex. It's a story that broke this morning on the City Breakfast News on Citi FM. We are confident of election 2020 victory despite Amidu's resignation. Deputy Minister of Information Pius Hajida. Over 60% of security personnel missing from special voting list. Adam Bona alleges, a security analyst. Business news from citybusinessnews.com, beginning with the issue of locked up funds for defunct fund management companies. Customers of defunct management firms welcome partial payment plan. Address all custom-related issues before commencement of Africa Continental Free Trade Area. AFCTA comes with that's from the GRA. National Insurance Commission, NIC, takes steps to end market fires. Producer price inflation decreased marginally in October 2020. Government must exempt tourists from paying $150 charge for COVID-19 tests, according to the Tourism Chamber. MyJoyOnline.com, briefly. Amidu had the authority to stop Akufo-Addo from interfering with his anti-corruption fight. Yabo Abiyan Samoa, Director of Communications of the NPP. To BBC now, just to update you on what's going on with the U.S. transition amid the dispute by President Trump. It says Trump campaign seeks partial recount in Wisconsin. For more news, visit citynewsroom.com. For more business news, visit citybusinessnews.com. I've been joined in studio by a member of the communications team of the NDC, Hamza Suhini. You're welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You're doing well.
Yeah, I'll begin by asking you, probably is a week that the country is still in a state of mourning. There's 7-day state of mourning declared by the president ends tomorrow. But looking at the fact that the country has lost a statesman and also the founder of the NDC, the party you represent, what will be your thoughts, your reflections, the legacy that Rollins stands for, briefly before we move to the main issues for discussion?
I think that basically His Excellency, first of all, my condolences to the family of the bereaved, and also to the National Democratic Congress as a party, and of course to the flag bearer of the party, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who now is expected to shoulder both the party and that of the family of the late president as far as issues pertaining to his demise are concerned. And equally expected as a former president to partner with the state in terms of giving our founder a befitting burial. However, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in the words of His Excellency His Excellency Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, in the words of His Excellency JM, still remains an enigma, even in death. And for those of us in the National Democratic Congress, we maintain that even though he's departed, the revolution still lives on. And it is amply captured in our belief that when it comes to revolutions, cadres may go, cadres may come, but the revolution will still live on. And he left us with enduring legacies that we are confident will live on forever. And this has to do with his own principles in terms of probity and accountability, and most importantly, the principle of social justice. And so as a party, we are poised more than ever to try, both in our conduct in opposition and hopefully in government, to reflect these attributes or legacies of His Excellency, former President Jerry John Rawlings, and try as much as possible to see how we can work within the democratic system to get other political parties, most importantly that of the New Patriotic Party, to reflect same principles, because it is only based on these principles of probity and accountability and social justice that we can effectively serve the good people of this country in accordance with our aspirations and the dictates of the 1992 Constitution. And so for us, the work is going to be daunting, especially now that we are dealing with a political party that has thrown to the dogs in terms of cautions of issues of nepotism, corruption, and all its attendant challenges. So clearly, Jude, the tax is going to be cumbersome. But in the words of His Excellency, former President Jerry Rawlings again, the challenge or the invitation to engage in politics never promised to be, or never promises to be exciting. It is an incumbent tax ahead for all those who have the political aim of succeeding in life. And so we shall try to reflect these tenets of his legacy and equally work to ensure that the fourth Republican dispensation, democratic dispensation that he bequeathed this nation still lives on even after his death. And His Excellency the President captured it succinctly when he said that he is the founder of the Fourth Republic. And so we shall do everything in our power to maintain peace and stability. And it is based on these concerns of our collective desire to ensure peace and stability that we have been on the Electoral Commission of this country to ensure that they organize free and fair elections to protect the stability of this nation.
So we'll begin with the first story. First story for discussion has got to do with the resignation of the special prosecutor. I take the story from Daily Graphic. Front page says Amido's claims his ingenious presidency affirms. All through the week, first the Martin Amido announced his resignation early on in the week, released a statement, his email, the statement, as a letter of resignation actually, to the president, indicating a number of reasons, including what he called a difficulty to act with freedom of thought and action in tandem with what he had actually been asked to do as the Office of the Special Prosecutor, cited operational challenges with staffing, as well as even accommodation challenges. He also mentioned difficulties he had after the publication of the corruption risk assessment with regards to the Ejapa mineral royalties deal. Yesterday, the president, or actually on Tuesday night, there was a statement from the presidency responding to almost every claim that was made in the Martin Amidu's resignation letter. So that's how the graphic captures it. Now, the Office of the President has said the government carried out its responsibility as best as it could to make the Office of the Special Prosecutor functional. It has therefore rejected claims by the former Special Prosecutor, Mr. Martin Amidu, that he did not get the needed support from the President, for which reason he resigned from his position. Mr. Amidu had, in a 4-page statement on his resignation released last Monday, claimed, among other things, that the reaction he had received for daring to produce the Ejapa Royalties Limited Transactions Anti-Corruption Report convinced him beyond any reasonable doubt that he was not intended to exercise any independence as the SP in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets of corruption. However, in a 9-page response to Mr. Amidu's letter to the President on his resignation, the presidency made references to specific allegations made by the SP and detailed reasons his assertions were preposterous. Touching on the effects of the Ejapa report, the response signed by the Executive Secretary to the President, Nana Asante, said Mr. Amidu had created the impression that he had uncovered serious corruption and corruption-related offences regarding the Ejapa transaction, in respect of which he intended to open full investigations as the Special Prosecutor. It said Mr. Amidu's position was most disingenuous and not supported by the facts. Before I come to Mr. Suini, we've also been joined by Mr. George A.C., who is a member of the communications team of the NPP. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so
I didn't recognize him because the cap wasn't on.
He's still not the one.
This is
he's not the one. Okay, I can see.
I'm used to
that. Interesting. So I'll begin with you on this issue. Martin Amidu made various allegations. Ejapa inability to act as a special prosecutor, and stated that on the meeting between himself and the President of 1st November, he discovered that there was a fundamental difference between himself and the President with regards to how the envisaged or saw how the Office of the Special Prosecutor should function. The Presidency has responded to all of these claims, indicating that Martin Amidu has been unkind to the Presidency, especially with the issues that have unfolded. What are your thoughts, first with the resignation, the response, and if this has any bearing on the fight against corruption in this country?
I think that, just beginning from where you ended, clearly, undoubtedly, it has effects as far as the collective objective to deal with corruption in our country is concerned. But you see, Jude, first of all, we have always maintained as a political party that when it comes to the fight against corruption and the setting up of the Office of the Special Prosecutor was simply done politically, or if you like, to achieve political goals, not really committed to the actual fight against corruption. And you remember that even Martin's posture, the National Democratic Congress have had cause in the past to raise issues with the conduct of Martin Amidu, even before he assumed that office. You also agree with me that it was because of some of these challenges that Martin Amidu found it extremely difficult to work with the National Democratic Congress under His Excellency, the late President Atamios, and probably subsequently His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The NPP as a political party then milked every political opportunity it presented. And so when he was eventually announced as special prosecutor for the ruling party, we knew that indeed the NPP was, as a party, would eventually face challenges as far as his work is concerned. But you see, I am not here today to pass a verdict on the performance of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor. The issue he raised basically has to do with alleged interference in his work by His Excellency the President. And Martin argues that he did an assessment of corruption risk report. And guided by courtesies associated with the office of the president, and most importantly, because the presidency must always be informed when it comes to issues of security. In his judgment, he thought that any transaction that had to do with the royalties, minerals of this country, bordered on national security. And so after done with any, if you are done with any assessment, it is only proper, out of courtesy, that you keep the president informed as to what is happening. I think it was the basis upon which Martin Amidu submitted his assessment report to His Excellency the President. And Jude, the point equally must be made that for Martin to continue to emphasize on almost every page of that report that what he did was an assessment and not an investigation, the people of this country, and for that matter, His Excellency the President, ought to have invested little energy in trying to decipher the relationship between assessment and investigation. And to the best of my knowledge, I think that the President took it for granted and proceeded on the basis of his own understanding of what constituted an assessment. And
but that's that an assessment can also be viewed as an audit, and when you present findings of an audit, as it may be the practice, you may have people responding to it, the management response as it is. So if you presented such such findings in a corruption assessment report without coming to find conclusions and putting it in the public domain, doesn't it pander to reason to allow for the persons who have been indicted or who have been cited in the report to respond if they may?
I think that if you read the concerns of Martin very well, first of all, assessment may be like an audit, but it is never an audit. What Martin sought to do with his assessment was simply to do what we call in research, depth analysis of information available to him. He was not
the transaction to find out if there are any issues on his own volition.
And his own volition.
Yes.
And his mandate, the law gives him that mandate.
Yes.
So what he simply did was like to simply gather information, do depth analysis to find out whether there are questions that needs answers as far as the Ajapa royalties transactions is concerned. When he did the analysis, he realized there were actually questions that needed answers. So it was on the basis of that, Amidu would have then proceeded to launch a full-scale investigation into the conduct, into the Ajapa royalties deal. So when he was done with his risk assessment, he actually found out that certain things needed clarification. And so there was basis for him to proceed with an investigation. So even before he proceeded with an investigation, he thought it prudent to inform His Excellency the President that, look, I have done this depth analysis on the Ajapa royalties deal. I have realized that there are certain questions we need to ask because I may need answers to those questions. But to help your work currently and probably in the future when it comes to legislative and executive decisions, I have served you with a copy of my depth assessment and indicated in that letter that there is the likelihood I may initiate subsequent investigations into the deal itself. So what he submitted to the President was not an investigative piece.
Yes, it was a
and he made that point. Yeah. So clearly, we hadn't gotten to the stage where he needed to listen to the views of identified parties associated with the transaction. If upon the depth analysis that gave basis for him to ask questions, he then proceeded to launch an investigation. It was at that stage that Martin Amidu would have now sent out invites to people named in the report to come before him and offer answers to some of the questions he raised. Okay. But what the President simply did was when that assessment report was given to him, he assumed wrongly that it was an investigative piece and proceeded on the basis of that investigation to demand Martin Amidu to give a fair hearing, so-called fair hearing, to his cousin who doubles as the finance minister of this country. Okay. And so he jumped the gun. Martin hadn't gotten there.
But I'll come back to you on that. But I think we should hear Mr. Esina on these issues. the fact that Martin Amidu makes that point very, forcefully, or emphasizes the point about the Japan royalties transaction, among other things, including operational challenges, staffing, and others. Coupled with the fact the argument has been made over the period by the minority, by the NDC, is this resignation an indictment on the fight against corruption by the Akufo-Addo administration?
Yeah, thank you, Duke. You look more aristocratic this morning. And let me say good morning to you, good morning to the Honorable, and good morning to your production crew and our viewers. The Honorable Martin Amidu was given a job to perform, and which job seemed too heavier than he could carry, and then made all of us, the Ghanaian people, to believe he was up to the task, only to find himself nitpicking in the responsibilities and duties that had been assigned him. After reading the response of the presidency, felt, Martin Amidu, forgive my choice of word, was lazy.
Is that not harsh?
Was lazy. I'm sorry.
With all the effort, he put in. Yeah.
That's why I used the nitpicking, and then now
investigating the Japan royalties transaction was on his own volition.
Yes.
Acting on his mandate as special prosecutor,
and it was a good one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and he mentioned which the presidency acknowledged as a first of its kind.
Yes. And it was good.
Does that speak about
3 years down the line?
A special prosecutor who is lazy.
A lot of things were to be done. You get it? There's been allegations for members of government, accusing them of A, B, C, that, people believe is akin to being a corrupt conduct. There's been issues of the previous government. How many of them, did he tackle? So I don't think, after reading the presidency's response, I don't think we are losing the fight against corruption. All of us were misled to believe that Martin Amidu is the man capable of doing the job. The president believed in him. And he said something that whether the president was thinking he was going to be a poodle, that was wrong, misplaced, not supported by any facts, because the president, and for that matter Ghanaians, knew the kind of person he is. His character, you cannot order him about. Everybody knew that. And so president deciding that let's give him that job, the president knew what he was bargaining for. And he thought that was the right person to do the job for all of us. Nobody can order him. And that, engendered confidence among all of us. Unfortunately, here we are. And the matter of the interference, it's misplaced. My good brother, Honorable, is saying corruption risk assessment is not investigation. True. He says it's a desk assessment. Factual. Lawyers, they call them learned friends because there are certain areas, I stand to be corrected, that it's not their area. But when they have to tackle issues there, they either consult the experts or they do research on their own to understand the area. And so in the thing that he was assessing, there are likely to be some of the documents he might have read and misunderstood or misinterpreted them. So I thought, even in the assessment, if there are gray areas, Duke, this area, this is what my understanding is. Is that what you mean by that? What's wrong with that? What's wrong? So you jump into conclusion. And a typical case, I saw 5 solid points in there that were gray, that if had been answered properly, would have actually informed his ultimate decision on the whole assessment report. One key one being the Imara thing, Imara SE being a decoy for Data Bank. And so if there is something like that, that people must answer things. Maybe the answer will help. You've used documents and paper trails. Good for your assessment. And then it's like this misunderstanding somewhere. So the president, and again, you said on his own volition, good. When he decided to wade in, the president said everybody should halt. Allow him to do his work. When he finished, on his own volition, he wasn't commissioned to do the work. And then 2, nobody asked him to submit the report to the president. I don't even know, Duke, you can tell me if he even submitted a copy to the board. To the board, his own board. Did he give them a copy? Okay? Out of courtesy for the president to put under his pillow? Or what? The president must study it. And if he feels that, the president is also a lawyer.
But the president cannot direct him as to what to do based on the
president didn't direct him
on the powers that.
Yes. The president respects that power a lot. Okay, the president. It's after all the details of everything that has been done for him, to function properly in that office. It shows the president was ready to let him do his independent work. But when he brought the assessment, he says, okay, you brought this, I've read through. I see ABC needs some responses. Okay, I thought if you talk to the people maybe, and that from there will give you the position or the platform to either decide to go on investigation or to decide not to proceed. Okay. So these are issues that must critically be examined. So the president, as a lawyer, first, give other people the opportunity to respond. Or the author party. Is that what the lawyers say?
Yeah. On that order of natural justice, we will take a break. When I come back, I will look at some of the messages we've sent in and continue the discussion. This is Breakfast Daily. Stay with us.
I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. It's 3 toothpaste in 1 to give them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV, the news review segment. My name is Duke Mensopoko. I have in studio George A.C., member of the communications team of the NPP, as well as Hamza Sohini, member of the communications team of the NDC. Before we went to the break, we're still discussing the fallout from the resignation of the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu, his letter, and the response from the presidency. We're making the point about the necessity of auditor and natural justice, and the reason why the presidency had to respond to the issue.
And so when the president did that, he asked them to respond. When they did, he felt, okay, Mr. P.S., SP, Special Prosecutor, I think if you factor these responses into your final assessment, your final report may be different from what you think. So that's what it is. The presidency, if the president had not acted upon receiving the assessment, put it down and went to sleep, after some time people will say, he even gave the report to the president, he didn't do anything about it. So the president as a lawyer felt, okay, let these people respond because they agree. In fact, when I read the report, I felt there are certain questions and answers to be given. You get it? I also felt that there are certain answers that must be given as far as the report is concerned. Okay? And so the president did that, and the people brought their report. When he was giving it, he said no. Rightly so. I don't begrudge SP for that. We said no, it will amount to something. The president didn't compel him. He said, okay, let's leave it. You get it? The president did. He felt the auditorium something should be done. He says no. The president left it at that. Before we could say Jack, it was in the media. You get it? Where is the interference?
What does this mean for the fight against corruption? Some say with Martin Amidu, Citizen Vigilante, Office of the Special Prosecutor, the fight against corruption is absolutely dead with his resignation.
No.
Where do we go from here?
His posturing everything was a hoax.
Really?
His posturing everything was a hoax. I'm sorry. Look at it. Really? I had total confidence. Look, before the next day after his decision, when I was on another say, what I said was that we'll plead with him to rescind that decision because the whole nation is behind him. If the appointing authorities are not giving him what he needs to function properly. He should come to his employers, okay? We are the employers, right? And tell us, the media is fully behind him, and the media will push this, and the presidency will say that, no, well, the way you are treating this man will not help the cause. And I know for a fact that the president is so much committed in the success of this office. And that is how come he knows who Martin is, and then he decided, let's give it to him and leave him to do his work, okay? It is not over. We have not lost the fight. I think we should now take a careful look at other people who can actually do the job. Not those who write epistles and make us believe that they are ready and will be able to deliver. Okay? Let's get people, distinguished, astute lawyers who are ready to have hands on to work. Okay? And to initiate programs to, investigate and go forward. Then the office will be very functional. But now I realize the man, almost 3 years. Tell us what happened. You said you needed to employ over 249 people. You were given the money to do it. You employed only 2 people? What is that? You get it? Okay, and then I started picking because you're happening on building, office space. Everyone, you don't want it.
He needed the office to be fully secure.
Yes, when they start, you say you don't. Come on, Duke. When I was teaching, man, if I were doing that before you, how will you assess me? I start a trigonometric function issue, and then I get to a point, I just stop. I go and start calculus. How will you see me? It's a confused teacher.
All right, so
we hope we get somebody who is serious and committed to do the job for us.
I don't think
we haven't failed.
Hamza would agree with that. But let me just read the story from CitiNewsroom.com. Presidency will not release any further statement on Martin Amidu. Eugene Ahin. The story reads from CitiNewsroom.com. The presidency says it will not issue any further statement to respond to Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu. The president, Nana Akufo-Addo, on Tuesday, November 17th, responded to allegations leveled against him and his government by Martin Amidu, who served as Ghana's first Special Prosecutor for 2 years. In a 9-page response, the president addressed claims such as interference in the work of Martin Amidu, a Japan mineral royalties deal, and matters arising, as well as allegations of government's failure to provide the needed resources and funds for the office of the Special Prosecutor. But according to the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Mr. Eugene Ahin, that will be the last time the Presidency will respond to Mr. Amidu. There are claims of Martin Amidu being lazy. The fact, that is the argument essentially posited by Mr. Isi. What's your response? And the fact that, it stands to reason that natural justice, others who had been accused, indicted in the report, should have the opportunity to respond to these claims before some determination is made.
What he has done around this table is simply to question the judgment of His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Really?
Precisely. Indeed, as a political party, we've long maintained that the excitement about the personality Martin Amidu that the NPP had all along been engaged in was simply to score political points, and that they simply lacked the judgment to understand the character that was involved. They said we were lying. In the Wyoming case, they went to town with the name Martin Amidu, sang praises on daily basis. And we kept on cautioning them to apply the brakes and take a closer look of the personality involved and understand that apart from being a professional lawyer, Martin all his life has been engaged in politics more than law, the practice of law. And so if you want to understand the personality involved and you decide to do so on the basis of law and anti-corruption crusades, you are likely to miss that vital question of his role as far as our politics is concerned. And he is a seasoned politician. And so if you understand Martin from that perspective, it becomes easier for you to deal with him.
But he also worked for so many years as a deputy attorney general and as an attorney general who has an understanding of our systems. And if you are carving that out and you need someone to stamp his imprint on the office as the foundational special prosecutor,
he just said that.
That concept does not even arise.
He just said that everything about him was a hoax. And I'm telling you that the MPP is now coming back to our point.
Okay.
We have engaged him.
Okay.
We worked with him. You didn't know him. But because of Uweyomi, you went to town and thought that Martin Amidu was the best thing ever to have happened to this country. And that any other person who was involved was actually a criminal. In the words of Martin Amidu.
Just as Japan was a serious issue
I'll get there.
The NDC made political capital
We told them to hasten slowly.
Okay.
They failed to listen. Today, and you know the politics of the NPP. Yeah. When you are in their good books, you are the best thing ever. Immediately you begin to ask questions. That is when they unleash their propaganda machinery on you and try to let everybody appreciate that you are next to nobody.
That same argument can also be made of the NDC. Maybe it's an argument for our politicians and the political class.
I agree that sometimes we do it, but you see, the NPP has no limits in that strategy. And let me give you an example again. He made reference to the fact that when Martin Amidu gave the reports to His Excellency the President, and that being a lawyer, the President looked at those grey areas and decided that there was a need for him to apply the principle of natural justice for these people to be heard. I think before he got in, I indicated around this very table that the grey areas in the assessment, not an investigation report, constituted questions Martin Amidu would have asked in any subsequent investigation. The assessment was simply to find out whether they were grey areas. And indeed, he found out that they were grey areas. So when His Excellency took the report, Martin Amidu said that, look, it is to guide you in your current and future legislative and executive actions. What His Excellency President needed to do as a responsible president who was committed not to interfering in the work of the special prosecutor was simply to look at those grey areas, call his finance minister, call whoever was engaged in the deal and say, oh, look, but why did you guys do this here? Why did you guys? Then if they explain to His Excellency the President, then based on the responses he would have gotten from these people, he uses those responses to either look at Ajapa at his level without engaging Martin Amidu and probably take that assessment as a lens to monitor his appointees in all other transactions. But when the President decided to assume that the assessment report constituted an investigation report, that was why he got it wrong. Because if it is an investigation report, truly, you would have expected Martin Amidu to call all those people named, to listen to them, and factor that in that investigative piece. But Martin Amidu, like I indicated earlier, had stated in that letter to the President that there's the likelihood that I will continue with subsequent investigations into suspected breaches of the law. So the presidency should have waited and done what I just intimated, deal with his appointees and leave it at that level. If Martin had started the subsequent investigations, then the presidency would have had the opportunity to probably direct his finance ministers to go and deal with Martin. But to the extent that the President got involved and told Martin to hold on after Martin submitted the report. And on top of that, the President didn't just end there. According to Martin, when he took the responses from the finance minister and attempted giving it to him, and he rejected, he indicated in that meeting his unwillingness to continue and said that the President was trying to do his job. But look, listen to this interesting piece.
There's also the point that the 64-page report that was presented to was made public. It's not the same thing that was presented to the President.
Yes.
A 13-page report was done. So the basis to make judgment on what actually had transpired was different from the public domain than what was sent to the President.
Have you read it? The 64 was a summary of the
13-page was a summary
of the 64 page. But listen, even in that report, it is, if you read the entire report, Martin Amidu has only raised grey areas that needed answers to.
Yes.
Are you getting it?
Which answers?
And he says in that report that I am likely, please, and he says that I am likely to launch an investigation. And the reason why Martin Amidu released that report was simply because he found it no longer funny that this, if you claim to be committed to the fight against corruption, and this is a major test of corruption against you, where you have the sitting president of the country has two direct cousins of his engaged in the deal, the finance minister and Gabi Ochridako. So everybody would have been monitoring to see the reaction of the president. And that is why Martin Amidu indicated that the events of 16 October convinced him that this whole so-called commitment to the fight against corruption on the part of the president was simply symbolic, and that the president meant none of his words and intended him to be equivalent. But see, let me wrap up. The substantive issue actually is that if you read the president's response on the 2nd of November, and remember that even in the report, Martin indicted His Excellency the President in the manner he granted the executive approval. And listen to what the President said on the 2nd November through his spokesperson. The President would like to affirm his confidence in the Minister for Finance, who happens to be his cousin, the Ministry of Finance, and the board and management of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. He would like to affirm his confidence.
And so if you release this statement, he's referring the whole deal back to Parliament, which is
that's the same letter. You can choose. But you see, the special prosecutor had told you in that letter that he's likely to continue with subsequent investigations. For onward prosecutions. And before that investigations are launched, you, the president, expected to partner him. You have released a statement and you are affirming your confidence on the identified suspects in his preliminary report, on the basis of which he wanted to proceed with an investigation. You were simply engaged in tying the hands of the special prosecutor.
Reasonable suspicion, not suspects.
But your investigator had indicated, reasonable, you see, but your investigator had indicated that these are people likely to be and
their responses come to the president.
I'll come to him. Please don't. I'm not sure you appreciate it.
So if you were Martin Ametam and you intend to investigate a finance minister who is a cousin to His Excellency the President, and before you launch the investigations, the President, who is supposed to support and partner you in rooting out corruption in the system, releases a statement and indicates in the statement that he has absolute confidence in the conduct of his finance minister. Where do you think that the investigations would end? And you see, Martin is not done. He understands the politics of this president. Indeed, in this country, he has seen how His Excellency the President has cleared deputy chiefs of staff accused of engaging in corruption. He has seen how even a presidential staffer caught on tape receiving money was cleared. He has seen how a deputy information minister who was reported to have been engaged in a visa scandal was cleared.
All through the due process, if somebody...
Whichever way. So he understands the psyche of this president. And so Martin Ametam knew
let's move on.
That any
just 1 second. You can tie that in when you are talking about the next issue.
Under a minute. You see, mind you, and Martin's resignation is also intended to constitute security for his life. Look, in this very country, we are pretty much aware of how investigators have ended. Indeed, we are still struggling to unravel the mystery behind the death of Ahmed Suhadi. We know as a matter of fact, that Manasseh Azuri-Awuni, as a result of his investigative work on the presidency, at a point in time had to be flown out of this country for security reasons. We know, as a matter of fact, that Anas Armiyao
These are issues.
I'm just telling you what Amidi did, what he had to do. So if that president, if that president, if Martin Amidi knew that these things happening in this country,
let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on to the second issue. Let's move on to the next issue for discussion. Let's go to the aftermath of the Odona Market Fire. President orders NBSSI to support victims of Odona Market Fire. Story reads from CitiNewsroom.com. The President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has directed the NBSSI to make available funds to support traders who had their wares destroyed by fire at the pedestrian shopping center close to the Kwame Nkrumah interchange in Accra on Wednesday, November 18th. According to the President, this is to help the affected traders recover from their losses. He also indicated that the government will undertake rewiring of all markets in the Greater Accra region to forestall such tragic occurrences in the future. On Wednesday, 18th November 2020, I visited Odona Market where hundreds of stores were destroyed by a fire outbreak in the early hours of this morning. Through the NBSSI support is going to be provided to over 3,000 persons affected by the fire within 2 weeks. I also indicated that government will undertake the rewiring of all markets in Greater Accra to forestall such tragic occurrences in future. The running mate to the flag bearer of the NDC as well, Professor Jenan Opoku-Agyeman, also paid a visit to the place. Now, she paid a visit to the Odona market in Accra after it was razed down by fire on Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. The visit, according to her, was to show empathy and solidarity to the traders who are counting their losses over the fire outbreak. She was, however, optimistic efforts will be made to indemnify the affected traders. To quote the words of Professor Opoku-Agyeman, I was at the Odona market this morning to express my empathy and solidarity with our hardworking entrepreneurs and traders whose wares and stores were lost to ravaging fire at dawn. Listening to their harrowing stories, I also saw at first hand the full extent of damage, but in all we are grateful to God that no lives were lost. I hope we shall all be there for our compatriots to assist with the restoration and rehabilitation process. Begin with you, Mr. Esi, on this. And your other hats too. You work with numbers.
Yes.
Would there ever be an end to these you listen and watch the concerns and the shared destruction of property?
Yeah, it's Duke. When it happened again, I said, oh God, this market again, because last year and the year before, same this thing. But this year it happened to be worse. And our preliminary assessment at NADMO is that we realized a lot of gas cylinders were in the market. They were cooking, they use it. And so when the fire is burning, then it explodes. More oxygen is released into it. Then the inferno gets, so that's been one challenge that we, going forward, maybe our report will put out to the market women to see how we can stop that. Look, yesterday I breathed a sigh of relief as a worker at NADMO that, the market women were a bit angry with us, NADMO, because they say we will come there, tell them, so and so do assessment, and then we'll give them the livelihood support. Livelihood support. That's not what they are interested in. They are interested in the business support. Okay, the NADMO doesn't do that. Business support. And so I was happy when His Excellency went there and said MDSSI should come to their aid. Not just that, gave a timeline. Within 2 weeks, and I know you are going to follow up and hold, and so I said, oh, thank God, because these people have lost a lot, and we are getting into Christmas, you get it. And I heard one lady say she went for a 5,000 facility, and she sold just a few, 2 days or so, and everything is gone, you get it. And so this support is good. I'm happy the president is taking that step, because the market women were telling NADMO and Clote Assembly to see how they can support them. Okay, and this is good. I pray MBSS does that and is able to get the people to build back better. Okay, and that is a good thing. But can we end this? Yes, I would pray that two things. We have a fire state post in the market, a fire post. Now, because the initial thing was that they saw smoke somewhere, some people wanted to enter, the security says no. You get it? If there were a fire post and a fire officer was told that there's something like that, and he carried a bigger cylinder, go to the security will open, because he's an officer. You get it? And he would have gone to douse it before it escalated.
And even added to that, there was a fire break this morning at the Sakumono School Complex as well.
God. This fire thing, electrical things, and then the way we manage some of these. The fire service has been doing, I know, I've attended some of their public demonstrations on how to douse fire and then how to be careful with electrical gadgets and co. If we can continue and intensify it, I think it will help all of us, because the season, sometimes when the atmosphere is very dry and you don't take time, a little spark and there's trouble. So let's all be careful, especially in our marketplaces and then in our homes. Okay, fire issues is there are certain things, that sensors that can give you, be careful, some of these things. When we have some of them in our homes, it will help us. But the market, especially Kantamanto and that place, there are combustible, a lot of combustible things there, and then they go there at dawn and leave in the night. They could virtually live there. But the good news is that nobody sleeps there. And so there was no life lost, right? And that's, they should advise themselves, and all of us, NADMO, we should also intensify our education in those communities to avoid some of these things.
I'll come to you now.
But NDC is just crouching on straws on their Martinami. The majority of Ghanaians have seen who he is and believe we should move on as a country.
Look, I think first of all, it is important for us to share in the grief of most of our mothers who, in one way or the other, may have been affected.
Oh, but before he goes, 1 second, Prof's presence there is good. Professor Jane Nana Opokwajima. It's good she went to solidarize and empathize with them. It's a good thing. We're building a nation as one people. I salute her for that.
Well, it is in line with the NDC's social justice principle, and so for us, we are always for the people, and we must reflect that in every activity that we engage in. I think this is not the first time, even when there were cases of floods in the Upper East region and that of Northeast region, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama himself visited and empathized with the people and went with some relief items, even before the state intervened. So it's part of our nature and our politics as far as the NDC is concerned. But like I said, I think that it is important.
Would you agree that the response from government has been swift in the business supports that is actually
I'll get there. Look, you see, first of all, I think that it will be out of place for us not to grieve with our mothers who may have been affected in one way or the other because of the unfortunate occurrence of the fire. But you see, the reality also is that even though lives may not have been lost as a result of it, what happened there probably could lead to emotional breakdowns, trauma, that eventually even could lead to death on the parts of most of them. And so we would like to use this platform to assure them that all is not lost and that as far as there is life, we can still work together to find amicable ways of managing their frustrations and anguish as a result of the fire outbreak. But there's the need for us to realistically look at the operations of NADMO. He is from that place. I am not always comfortable where state institutions mandated by law to act in a certain light wait until disaster strikes before they are seen to be working. I was hopeful that the National Disaster Management Organization should consider the possibility of probably setting up a department that would partner with the Ghana Fire Service to engage in education in most of these markets. Because this is not the first time this has happened. It has always become a ritual, an annual ritual now, where every year we wake up to the sad news of market fires and stuff like that. So NADMO should just go beyond coming in when there's a disaster to adopting measures of trying to prevent the occurrence of disaster. That is how progressive institutions must work.
That's how we work.
And clearly, if NADMO was on the grounds and had gone in there previously, I'm sure that they would have discovered some possible defects that needed attention. But to the extent that mostly you simply do not get them out there to do those things, you are likely to have challenges. And when you raise questions, they will also quickly refer to issues of funding from central government. And we must identify priority areas as a state and ensure that when it comes to funds, we timely release funds to some of these institutions to do what they are expected to do. And as for the NBSS support for the victims, it is not new, it is not a novelty. I remember again that somewhere in 2013, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama also had cause to direct Maslock to support market women who had their wares burnt down as a result of floods. But beyond these things, if you listen to the engagement His Excellency President Mahama had with the platform of professionals, the Greater Accra Market Women President said something significant, and there's a need for us to begin to look at that, because the previous government under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama undoubtedly demonstrated that commitment in that regard. She indicated that as a result of the certain surge in mall activities, these mall activities are threatening the traditional markets. And already
as a government, we are confronted with the challenge of having to deal with organizational structure to avoid some of these fires. We are being given an opportunity by these market women to try to modernize their existing markets so that malls in town do not take them out of business.
Okay.
And so that is why there is the need for even the New Patriotic Party to attempt a policy in that regard. Indeed, we have.
So
that was what led to the construction of the
that
was what led to the construction of the Cape Coast Market by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and that of Kumasi KJT. And
so
trust me, there is that commitment again in the National Democratic Congress People's Manifesto.
Two of them here. Eric from Koforidua says, how come Mr. Martin Amidu, an astute lawyer of his caliber, didn't want to allow the rule of natural justice prevail in his report? Should that be an interference in his work as well? Balali Augustine Facebook says, I'm utterly amazed at the response of the president to the comments made by Martin Amidu. The president failed to convince Ghanaians that he didn't interfere with the work of the special prosecutor. So that's how we wrap up the discussion on the news review segment. We had in the studio Hamza Suhini, member of the NDC communications team, and George IC, member of the MPP communications team. Keep watching Breakfast Daily. Up next is a tax dialogue with Executive Director of Domestic Revenue Mobilization. That's how we wrap up. Keep watching Citi TV.
Are you diabetic or hypertensive? Do not just have an eye test. Visit Dashin Opticians for a comprehensive eye examination. Let us conduct an OCT and visual field test. Early detection prevents vision loss.
In Ghana, the law enjoins all drivers and passengers in a moving vehicle to wear a seatbelt. No excuse is good enough for not wearing a seatbelt. Seatbelts that are fitted in vehicles are adjustable, so please adjust it to suit you. Let it rest as close as possible to the body. As a driver, before you drive off, ensure everyone else, especially children in the vehicle, have fastened their seatbelts. The airbag is not an alternative to a seatbelt, because in the event of a crash, only the fastened seatbelt will stop a passenger from being thrown far forward. So buckle up. Stop road crashes now. Stay alive.
This road safety education is brought to you by the National Road Safety Authority.
Hi, my name is Salamatu. Yes, these are both me. You see, before free SHS, my life could have taken two very different paths. The SHS path depended on how much money my parents had, what sacrifices they were willing to make, and whether they would send me or my little brother Issa to SHS. The other path is what would have become of me if there was no free SHS. But today, thanks to free SHS, my future is bright and promising.
Congratulations, you have a name. He's a boy.
Instead of depending on others, I will stand on my own feet and help my family. Free SHS is where my dreams for a better future and the dreams of thousands of young girls become a reality. Don't let NDC take it away from us. Vote for NPP and give all Ghanaian girls a chance for a better future.
make a truce. You know I'm in love with you. Wouldn't mind if I say I do, yeah. Say I do. Would you lay right here, lay right here, lay right here, lay right next to me, lay right next to me? Oh, would you stay right here, stay right here, stay right here, stay right beside me, stay right beside me? In my soul I feel you, in my heart I see you, and me in peace, only me dreaming. You are my everything, you are the love I need, baby. Can I me, I me, my love, 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 oh, my love, my love, my love, my love. Oh, you put me in a mood, boy. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. In my soul I feel you, in my heart I see you, and me in peace, holy me Trinity. You are my everything, you are the love I need, baby. Can I me, I me, my love, 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 baby. What I see is you and me, is you and me, baby. What I see is you and me, is you and me, baby. What I see, my love, what I see, my love, is you and me, my love, you and me, baby. What I see, what I see is you and me, 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 oh, is you and me, is you and me, is you and me, is you and me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. We are now going to talk about tax dialogue. Today's topic is domestic revenue mobilization. Most of the social services we enjoy during this coronavirus period would be able to be sustained if we were able to actually domestically get more revenue. And of course, we have Jeffrey Okanse, who is the Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, here with us. He's going to walk us through the NPP's 2020 manifesto and exactly what they said about how we're going to meet our targets as far as domestic revenue mobilization is concerned. Good morning, Jeffrey.
Good morning, Dziffa.
How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm fine.
Thanks for being here.
Just a little sad.
I know. I was going to ask you why you're wearing
about
black.
my black, yes. I lost a mentor and a great personality for our country, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the people I saw when I was young. I grew up in Rage. I was born at Rage Hospital, grew up there. And so I saw himself and his ministers. I mean, the time they called them secretaries of state, you know. So quite a few times you see him driving and then he stops the car and, how are you, young man? That made the day for you. Yeah. I mean, meeting the head of state. I think he stood for probity and accountability, and that eats directly into my field of interest, where we are seated now to look at what goes about the monies that we are collecting as taxes. I also want to, first of all, say a few words of condolences to the family, to the party which he belongs to, NDC, and then to the whole Ghana, and to Africa and the world. You know, he served the AU and ECOWAS, and a few times he was called upon to handle some projects for the global and continental level. So I think he's worth celebrating. Definitely. And we keep up to the accountability and probity aspect of his life that we need to go around. And call on Oxfam. We thank them for sponsoring this program, and then also Tax Justice Coalition, my RMA. We're all in here to just make sure that revenues are collected. It was interesting when we organized the Pan-African Conference on Revenue Mobilization, and then it was actually the Pan-African Conference on illicit financial flows and taxation. You know, so the amount of money that leaves Africa through illicit financial flows and tax evasions and then transfer pricing, they are huge than what we receive as donor support from the donors. So if we are able to actually manage our revenues very well and put systems in place to check them, I'm sure we're going to collect a lot and then keep ourselves from going to our friends always cap in hand.
Definitely, and that's what the MPP is trying to do with this whole, you know, Ghana Beyond Aid mantra that they keep putting out there. So what did they exactly put in the manifesto? How do we go about getting more revenue domestically? Well,
when you look at the MPP's manifesto, there was no clear cut to say that A, B, C is what they were doing. But when you scrutinize the document, you realize they were focusing on some of the things they were doing, which included, they were granting incentives to small-scale enterprises. They were also looking at granting the same incentives to the automobile industry, where they looked at local and then international organizations to come in and set up. They were giving them incentives. They were also looking at the construction industry. Let me tell you about a research we did with the ILO. You can see that the agri sector and the construction sector, the chain, the production chain, creates a lot of jobs. So I think based on that premise, they wanted to stimulate that industry and then make sure people get jobs, by which they also look like more jobs, companies make profit, individuals make profit, and then they tax them and get their money. So that's what they were looking at. They also spoke about their digitization of the collection systems, and that I think is also good, and they've started already. So they focus more on what they were doing, but on the manifesto they didn't say this is what we're going to be doing. But so on indirectly, when you do a scan, you get to see that this and this and that is what they are doing. Well, if you look at that and you clearly scan it well, it was more focused on input, but not output, so that we can check value for money. I'm putting in this to get this out of it.
So let's take it one at a time. When it comes to MSMEs, how have they been actually contributing to our revenues historically, and how do you think the MPP can do it differently before we get to the other sectors like agric and the automobile industry?
Right. So they're not doing bad. When it comes to tax collection, an improvement of the collection systems takes you one step ahead, you know, because when you've improved the collection systems and explained it to those who are going to be using the system very well, it actually takes away delays, it takes away people taking advantage of the system. But also, let me quickly caution, when you move on to the digitization platform, there is a need to also check corruption around that place and corrupt practices. Because, you know, just when mobile money started thriving and expanding, I've received several calls. People tried to prank me in and then take advantage of my money. They try to tell me they are giving protection when of course they're not. You know, they're trying to take fast ones on me. So I think the digitization of the systems is a step that is also good in the right direction.
Yeah, and we know government is also targeting a lot of the fintechs as well to make sure that they pay taxes, because we've had a lot of fintech companies all over now. But back to the MSMEs, what are they saying about them and the other players that we really need to start getting taxes from?
They are responding positive, and I think they're playing along. But You know, I have a general saying that nobody likes paying tax. Nobody wants to pay tax.
Especially small business.
You know, so if big companies, they have persons who actually plan their tax for them, so they can avoid tax. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying tax evasion, but professionally, they can get somebody, engage the person to manage their tax issues, and they can play foul and it becomes tax avoidance. You know, just so they can work around and then avoid taxes. So Oxfam has a wonderful project upcoming that will actually be start targeting companies that are going to good practices, would not go and take advantage and explore weak tax systems. For example, if you talk about the free zones arena, you know, companies by the free zones regime, you can operate for 9 years, and then the 10th year you start paying taxes. Now, some companies in Ghana took advantage after 9 years of operation, then they skid into another area where new owners, new name for a company, just to avoid paying taxes. So by that, we have actually pushed for the implication of the exit tax. If you want to exit that agreement after 9 years, you have to pay for all the taxes that you enjoyed 9 years.
Nice.
Right.
Okay. What are some of the outlines MPP has made to ensure that we get enough revenue moving to 2021?
I'm sure you want to look at the management systems they've put in place. Well, when you look at the issues that even exist over there, the manifesto was silent on these issues of abuse and corruption. So the two major things that were missing were cutting down expenditure, and then proper targeting, and then punishing defaulters. You see, one of the easiest way, even individuals, you and I, we have in managing anything we call revenue or cash in our pocket, is we decide to cut down. That's the first step you can take easily. So if I eat from the restaurant and it costs me 10 cedis here, and there's another sidebar that I can eat from and get the same satisfaction, not risking my health anyway, I can go for a 4 cedis a meal instead of a 10 cedis a meal. So one of the major things that you'd expect will be the cutting down of expenditure, you know. And then you look at proper targeting. During this COVID era, when you give a free skill, the persons that were really targeted to benefit, who are the very poor people, to close the gap, they could not access it because some of them didn't have pipes in their house. And water tank services were put in place, they couldn't reach them. So then you have a problem there. Now, when you come to the punitive measures for those who default, it becomes another area we should have looked at. No proper provisions were made in this one for you to see for tax irregularities. Now, let me tell you the danger around it. Cash irregularities constituted about 694 million cedis from the Auditor General's report. Cash irregularities also was 276 million cedis. Now, the issue...
which year is this?
For 2019, the one we just received. Actually, tax refund, this is where the abuse is. There was 193 million disbursed from GRA for refund, from the refund accounts to make payments that are not tax refunds. Now you go to this is against the VAT Act 2013, the Act 870. Now, when you look at these wastes that are ongoing, and you look at what the Auditor General also bulleted for them, some of the issues were unaccounted for revenue. He also talked about unauthorized transfers. He also spoke about unapproved disbursement, then transfer of public funds into personal accounts. I mean, when you hear all this, then you can see the wanton wastage in the area. It's never too late. We want to hear comments from the MPP, how they want to handle some of these cash irregularities and then the tax irregularities. It is never too late because it's a manifesto. They can come back and then explain to everybody else. But these are one of the major issues. Checking expenditure, making sure you stop the abuse, and then punishing the defaulters. Because if you go in there in the same thing, you get the figures there and then it panics you, because for the period running 2015 to 2019, 5 years alone, we lost close to 8 billion Ghana cedis.
8 billion Ghana cedis
to tax irregularities.
Wow.
Period running. Go to the auditor's report.
So why wouldn't the administration perhaps make it a priority that, okay, if we're struggling to get taxes from people, at least we should be able to close these loopholes?
Yes, because, you know, if you took the biggest bucket and you go fetching water and it has a crack, you have an issue. You collect a lot, and the seepages and the leakages causes you a good damage. And you know, when you look at these issues, then you can clearly see where we are heading, because we collect more, but we should also make sure that we block the seepages and the leakages.
Okay.
You know.
Now let's talk about tax exemptions. We know that some of the businesses have been proposing that they should be exempted, especially local businesses. They feel as though foreign businesses get a lot of exemptions. What did the MPP say about that?
Well, the sad thing is, when you look at the reasons why they give exemptions, clearly they were positive about exemptions. It is they believe that if they give and grant these exemptions, it's going to stimulate business activities, and then these persons who get advantage of getting the exemptions are going to create job and then employ people. While they make their profits and expand, they will also be giving opportunity to individuals who get more money. So more returns for companies and individuals, and government would also get taxes to collect. But it stands clear that the minister also complained when in his statement to Parliament how the tax exemptions has been very backtracking on our efforts.
Okay.
And also it is laudable to state already that the MPP government have already presented the tax exemptions bill to Parliament. But rather, unfortunately, we didn't hear any commitment in their manifesto to pass the bill into law, you know, to have the tax exemptions.
And how transformational would that be if that bill were to be passed?
If you pass that bill, you actually regulate the regime, the tax exemptions regime. Let me tell you one thing. We lost we granted 6 million, government granted over 6 million Ghana cedis tax exemptions without going through Parliament. That is some of the abuses I'm talking about. And the premise on which they are granting the exemptions is a bad perception and a worrying premise. Because why? The real reasons why companies come to Africa, and Ghana specific, is because of the availability of raw materials. And for Ghana, my country specifically, is because of the security we enjoy. Nobody, if you put diamonds, gold, everything in Afghanistan or another country where there's a war, no investor will go there. We have enjoyed some level of peace in this Fourth Republic. So if you are looking at exemptions, you have to look at what you have. What do you have? Go to the table with what you have to negotiate. So you have security, you have the raw material. With basic information, I tell you, there is difference between the quality of gold in Liberia and the quality of gold in Ghana. So they are coming here because of your quality raw materials, because you have cheap labor, because also you have security. So on that premise, when you gauge well, this is where you would have to grant. Now let's take advantage of COVID. Now when you move to the table with the MNEs who are coming to invest, now also speak with them. If you have a strong team, you tell them, because of COVID, next year, clearly, our revenues are going to be dropping. So if you want exemptions, what rules that we have now, the guiding rules for exemptions, we should review them and call them back to the table and rediscuss these issues and make sure we rather use COVID to reduce exemptions, because we'll be exposed. Most of the MNEs, when they see that we are in that frustrated stand, will take advantage to tell you, give me more exemptions, I'll invest in your country and employ your people.
So, Jeffrey, why haven't we historically done that? You know, negotiate based on the fact that we're a peaceful nation, based on the fact that we have these raw materials, but then we go on to give these foreign investors even more exemptions?
Well, if you go into why? Because, like I told you, we failed to look at the real reason. The premise on which we are granting the exemption is why. You granted the exemptions based on the premise that you're going to be granting the exemptions so that they organize themselves, start business in your country, employ more of the people. But have we thought of value for money? If you say that they should come and employ your people, and they employ 100 people, but 50 of them are farm hands, okay, and another 50 of them are security persons, another 50 are just in the workshop, cleaning the workshop, where are they actually engaging your people? How much of your raw materials go into the production? That will it stimulate the local participation as in employing the people and also getting raw materials directly from the people and also their machines? Would they be using certain things that would be produced here? We have a Ghanaian company, RIG. Yeah, they are actually producing bolts and nuts. Are they coming to invest in this country? Let's say a car manufacturing company, invest in Ghana and make sure they give these opportunities to our local manufacturer of, let's say, the bolts and nuts or seats or car lights, something. What do we supply into the industry? If it's only about them to come here and put a setup here, and then they're only going to come here and then do a refurbished one, I don't think we're getting it right.
Because the money will be going out of the country by the time
a lot of it.
How do we extend these exemptions to local businesses as well?
When it comes to exemptions and incentives, I am not against it, but I'm very careful.
Okay.
Because I believe businesses need other things. Look, a lot of people have said why they are not being able to pay taxes because of tax education. How do you educate the people and the closeness of the outlets to them? So with the digitization systems, I'm sure it's going to be improving, okay? And how close are we moving to them? Our human relations, I mean, the collectors, how are they going to relate better with those they are collecting from and make it very easy for them? Look, large taxes, those who have the duty to pay large taxes, in Tamale, they have to move all the way to Accra to make those payments.
There's not enough incentive for them to actually make that trip then.
You know, so if you take it closer to them, you make it easy for them. Look at the banks who collect your monies. They come to you, they
especially
speak
the
with you.
microfinance.
That's it, my sister. So if you want to do something like that, you are collecting taxes, you need to move to the people, put terms in place. Look, instead of granting them incentives, defer payments. Okay? I would look at deferring payments when they have difficulties. Have tax relation officers. Do you have them? Are you encouraging them to do their work? Are they on the fields working? Explain to the people, you know what, if you have a difficulty, come to our office, tell us about your problems. We will spread your payments and make sure you just add a little bit to it. Look, somebody will prefer a deferred payment that will come with just a little interest. Or another person will say, just give me a deferred payment, I'll make payment. Look at the records of the company and then make sure they pay. That is what we have to do right now.
What are some other creative methods you think government should be considering, especially when it comes to the informal sector?
The very first thing we should do about revenue mobilization in this country, what we have collected, is the good thing we can do for ourselves is to cut down expenditure.
Cut down on expenditure. That's government's responsibility first and foremost.
Let's cut down on expenditure, and then let's cut down on waste and corruption.
But how do we cut down on expenditure when we're dealing with a pandemic right now? Because we are all enjoying free water. Some people are enjoying free electricity.
Your answer is here.
What's the answer?
Your answer is here. Proper targeting. You remember when we spoke about the free SHS, the Minister of Finance, ironically but truthfully, said that his child and other people in some class and range would need it. They don't need it. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. Even in the face of COVID, there are people. You want to go and pay water bill for despite?
No, I would actually prefer to pay my own water bills because the water
I join you. We are two in this studio. But
how do we filter that? Because we don't have enough data to be able to decipher who will need the water and who wouldn't.
When it comes to targeting, we put some institutions in place so that they know some of these problems. We have a social protection. We have a ministry over there. They know, you know, when they grant this monies to support persons. I've forgotten what they code it actually, from the Ministry of Gender. They give this social support they give some to people. The recipients are automatically persons who qualify for that one. When you go, even in urban Ghana, in the heart of the city of Accra, next door to you is Alugoshi. The Alugoshi over there, they need water. So it's not a problem. You can easily target them and meet them. The reason why we added, let's say for the water, the reason why we added what? The tanker service. To reach them, I personally, I don't need that facility, you know, but it's a want. So if you dump it in there, people take it. Cut your expenditure. And now with COVID, cut down expenditure. I'm focusing on what government expends, you know, when we are actually looking at some of the procurement processes. Look at the amounts of monies we are losing through certain deals, even within COVID, the Frontier deal, and a few things that have happened. You know, these are questionable things that people are seeing wanton waste of the cash that is collected as taxes. So they should look at that area. When it comes to cutting down on the corruption, look, in the Auditor General's report, you've seen over there, I've mentioned to you, cash irregularities, cash and tax irregularities are there. Look, transfer of monies into personal accounts. These are things you don't want to even hear.
Have we set in place enough checks and balances to ensure that some of these irregularities don't happen?
Massive duty of a government to do this, to put the check systems are there, but the lack of commitment to punish people, to deter people. When I was little, I remember in GNTC, some of the managers who were corrupt. I remember when some people's fathers were locked under Jerry Rawlins's era. I can remember. So I think that is the issue.
And it will serve as a deterrent for other people who would want to take advantage
Harsh,
of the
punitive measures. Okay. You know, and I'm not talking about just jailing the person. Let us see the recouping of the money. So if the person bought houses with it, don't just go, look, then people will just end up stealing from the state, being jailed, and then come back to enjoy after 5 or 10 years when they've served their term. No. Right from the day he's caught, impound their accounts, let's get their money seized, let's get their properties, like what is going on with the YMS scenario. Let us see people recouping the money, you know.
So don't just lock people up. Actually, the state needs to get the monies back from them.
Yes, and we have to explore other opportunities, like expanding the properties tax system, also focusing on the rent taxes. You know, look at the high-rise buildings with apartments all over Accra. That alone, people, it's become construction industry. I think the MPP manifesto has focused on that one because they said they are going to stimulate that industry. So it should tell you that it is a job field for some people. And so they have to focus on that area and collect back their taxes. There are some artisans who are working in these industries. The carpenters, the masons, those who are doing the POP roofing and things. They charge huge amounts of money. They take 4,000, 6,000, 10,000, and they have apprentices who are working for them. So it takes about 4 or 5 contracts and is running. This guy is making for a month about 20,000 or 30,000 Ghana cedis, more than Dziffa and myself.
How do we bring those guys into the formal sector though? Because largely most of them operate in the informal sector.
Monitoring is one of the most important things. Monitoring is very important. So the GRA must increase their monitoring, and then there must be a very, very rigid attempt to actually clamp down on these people. First, it starts with the education and explaining to them that they are part of the system, they need to pay taxes, and then making sure you force the laws. Enforcing is very important. Then you focus on that one. Now we have to look at the night and dawn economy.
Okay, we get that. I want our viewers to let us know if they have any questions, because we're dumping a lot of information on you, and I'm sure all of you are wondering, this whole domestic revenue mobilization thing, where do we even start from? If you have any questions for Geoffrey, let us know. The hashtag is Breakfast Daily, and the WhatsApp line is 0550585832. If you're outside Ghana, use the country code +233. If we want Ghana to get somewhere, we all have to contribute to our revenues to get the country where it needs to be. Okay, you were saying
just a quick on with what you just ended. Like, if we want to get things done,
especially for the next generation,
I tell you what, there's one thing: the word "free" has been abused all over the world. When we say, and people don't get it right, when we say free, there is nothing free in the world. We are talking about free at the point of need. So our taxes, donations, everything will come in a kitty, like this wonderful pot in front of me over here, and we all make sure that at the point of need, we can have access to it. So there will be a hospital, there will be a good transport, mass transport system, there will be education like free SHS for everybody else. But somebody contribute. It's from our coffers. So moving down on the night and dawn economy, sometimes it's not deliberate for people to run away. My grand auntie is sitting, and all she does is maybe she goes to Osu night market. That is where they have been operating all this while. We have to eat in the evening, and they've been there for us. So you need to make sure after 5 p.m. you can get tax officers to go over there and then talk to them about the taxes and start collecting. Now the dawn economy. When you go to some markets, I focus on Medina Market and Domi Market. I went there around 4 a.m. And they come up, sometimes they come as early as 2 a.m., 3 a.m. They are not actually running away from you. They actually are doing their business. They must serve their outlets. By 3, 4 a.m., they have come from all the journeys with their wares. They sell about 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. They are done. They are gone. We need to target them, speak to them, educate them about the taxes, put systems in place to make sure they can pay. At dawn, maybe it can be a transfer or digitized platform, and they can pay some of these taxes.
But once they pay, how do we ensure that they also see the fruits of their taxes? Because if they don't see anything changing around them, that might serve as a deterrent.
Wonderful. This is a wonderful question. You see, when you properly organize these people and put systems in place and find a place for them to actually come and dump their goods and then distribute, you can properly regulate them. So you have, let's say, the cassava distributors and the plantain distributors. You have a checkpoint for them in the market. They come, you provide security for them. Providing security comes with tax officers. Automatically, when they dump in there, you have tag numbers for them. Tag number them, put them like the way you give TIN numbers. They should trade numbers, give them something, and then they know they have safe here, they dump their goods here, there's a park over here, government provides security. For that reason, you are collecting these amounts of, there's lights, there's a place of convenience, there's a changing room. These are the things you can do for them, and then you take back your taxes. Now, look, let's explore the issue of sin taxes. Sin taxes are put on unhealthy products like tobacco, and then let's say sugary or unhealthy products. Okay, so
all the
alcohol,
carbonated drinks that are not good for you.
Wonderful from you, my dear. So, the reason you put it is a double-edged sword.
Okay.
One, automatically, when you increase taxes on these products, you have actually generated revenue for the country. When you increase taxes on these products, you have a potential tendency of reducing the intake of these products. So what am I saying? Remember when we were in this period of COVID, when the president announced to the state that total number of deaths highly related to persons living with non-communicable diseases, and the underline is these intake of these products. So actually, when you have reduced that, we need it even now. So put that law there, cut down on the intake, and then generate more revenue for yourself. And finally, I think...
But what if these companies also come back and say we employ most of the people locally? So you putting up these high prices, we'll have to let people go.
You are such an angel sent to me this morning.
Oh gosh,
because this has been their argument for the tobacco industry especially. They say, I'm creating a job for the people. You know what? Now look at Casapreco. Casapreco was producing alcohol.
Then
during COVID,
sanitizers.
They produced sanitizers. Perfect example of what we were talking about all the years. Change into production of things that people, COA FS, they've always been there to boost your immune system. So if Casapreco and other companies
but they
can
had
look
issues
at
with FDA along the lines
that
they've now fixed. Yes. Please continue.
That's a dangerous area.
Let's continue.
So massively, what we're saying is that change your production line, rather go into healthy production, and then if you do healthy production, we'll give you incentives.
So that would even help the economy even
exactly
more. Okay.
So when you do the healthy production and we give you incentives, you create more jobs, because look, total number of persons who needed COA FC not to stop would always keep to the tradition. That rings a bell that we have to tell people that healthy products will help the system. Then finally, this is the message. Just pass the tax exemptions bill.
Okay.
Pass it. Pass the exemptions bill. And I think the NPP should look at that and look at what they have put at Parliament, which is the bill, and then they should pass it into law and make sure that this will regulate the grant of taxes to the MNEs. Look, there's an MNE declaration that the ILO developed for all these MNE companies around the world. They have a duty and a responsibility to keep to proper professional practice. So they don't have to come in here and take advantage of you. 3 things I've told you this morning. They come here because of our raw materials to start with. They come here because we have security. Nobody invests into a war zone. And then they look at the cheap labor. Now we have to stimulate and have skilled labor. Skill the labor in the extractive sector and make it work. Finally, I just have to say a thank you to Oxfam and to RMA and the Tax Justice Coalition. And as we mourn President Rawlings, we should remember as a country that the hallmark of the man we are mourning is probity and accountability. If we collect the taxes, let's make sure everybody who has to pay pays well. And when they pay well, the monies we've collected, one of the things that are seen is that if you collect the money and you abuse the money, payment again becomes a problem. So let's cut down expenditure, let's improve collection systems, let's train the collectors, and then make sure we do the collection.
Geoffrey Kabute Okanse, Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you at home for staying. Don't go anywhere. We hope that this conversation has encouraged you to pay your taxes. Okay, we can't continue borrowing money from other countries. They're able to give us money because they've done so well getting taxes from their citizenry. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I'm 22, he's 24. We're both tertiary students and we've dated for almost 3 years now. My problem is the fact that we keep on getting intimate and I'm not too happy about it. This is because I'm very religious and he isn't. Also, I'm scared of getting pregnant because we're both not ready for a baby. Well, he uses protection whenever we get intimate, but my integrity is my concern. Sisters, my conscience is not clear and I feel my integrity is dwindling by the minute. In a bid to convince me that I'm in good hands, he suggested we have a blood covenant to enable us, or to assure me of his sincerity and love. Truth is, he has never cheated on me before. Sadly, I've broken up with him because of the constant fornication, which is against my religious beliefs. On the other hand, I'm worried that I may have to let a good guy go who loves me, and that's not what I would want. I need very good advice on what to do. Please help a confused sister.
You're 20, 22. You were so young, my dear. There's so much in life to experience besides one guy shagging you 24/7.
Women can stay for a very long time without having sex. For the guy, as soon as he feels the edge, he has to find a place to,
When you start having sex, you realize that you can't even see the bad things in the relationship.
Sister is sponsored by Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready and secure. You decide.
All right, welcome back. It's time for us to have a very, very important conversation. Now, this week is World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. And I've been joined by three eminent personalities. Beverly Ejiri, and she's a PhD research fellow in bacteriology department with the NMIMR, that's Noguchi. And University of Ghana. I've also been joined by Nike Atram. She's also a laboratory research coordinator, and Esther Jani, and she's also a veterinarian. And we're going to have this conversation because it's something that affects all of us, and all over the world we are finding that there are challenges with medication, antibiotics in particular, becoming problematic. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you all doing?
Great.
All right, so let's get into the conversation right away. Why is this even an important conversation to have?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. The third week of November every year is set aside globally as World Antibiotic Awareness Week.
Okay.
This is particularly to create more awareness on antibiotic resistance, a situation that occurs when germs resist the effects of antibiotics. And if germs are resisting the effects of antibiotics, it means that we'll have more untreatable infections. And then this can lead to severe illnesses and more deaths. So this week is also set aside to encourage healthcare workers, policymakers, and the general public on best practices that we all have to adapt to prevent the spread of these wicked bacteria. Because according to the World Health Organization, about 10 million people will die from antibiotic-resistant infections if nothing is done about it. So we are here to create more awareness on the menace this resistant germ or germs are causing, and also to discuss with all of us basic ways that we can all adapt to prevent the spread of the resistant bacteria.
Okay, so I guess the question comes is, what causes resistance when it comes to these? How do they become wicked?
Yes.
If I can put it that way.
So let me just follow up with that. Resistance is fueled by the use of antibiotics. Basically, the more we use this bacteria, the antibiotics, the more the resistant germs occur.
Okay.
I would like to state here particularly that the ability of the germ to become resistant is a natural occurrence. It's a survival strategy. When we bombard these germs with the antibiotics, they try to rearrange their internal structures, their external structures, so that when you bombard them with the agents, they will be able to escape. So as we sit here planning on how to deal with these resistant germs, these germs or wicked germs are also preparing to escape. So the more we use antibiotics, the more we compound the situation of having more of these resistant germs, because you bombard them, they decide or strategize to escape. So you have more of the resistant germs multiplying.
Naki, is this a case of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger?
Yes, you could say that.
Okay. But why won't the antibiotic kill the targeted germ?
So let's say there's a whole mass of germs in a place, in an environment. And then the antibiotic attacks them. Their strength levels are different. As with human beings, some are stronger than others. And so as the drug hits them, some would definitely die. But some would change within, internally, to be able to avoid the action of the drug. And those ones become stronger. And so if they get the chance to multiply or move into another environment, which they do quite well, then you have the situation where they are able to express themselves better. They are able to sometimes even transfer that ability to other germs, and it goes on and on. It's just like us human beings adapting to different situations and getting better at whatever we are doing.
What's the occurrence of this problem in animals, Esther?
Yes. So just as in humans, we use antibiotics in animals to treat certain infections. And when they are misused or abused in animals, we also have this problem developing. The danger is that it can be transmitted to humans through the animals.
The resistant microbes can come cross over into humans?
Yes. Wow. So either through food or through direct contact with these animals. So antimicrobial resistance in animals takes a different form. It's a problem for the animals themselves, and then there's also the potential for transfer to humans. And if anything, COVID-19 has taught us that in solving human health problems, you have to look at it from all angles. So it becomes important for the animal health sector to play its role.
I guess what I'm thinking in my mind right now is, okay, so if you're going to, let's say, attack an infection, would you be using, is it advisable to use one antibiotic or multiple antibiotics attacking from different directions, as it were? What makes more sense?
Yeah, so first of all, before an antibiotic is prescribed by a clinician, there are certain steps that the clinician takes before prescribing the antibiotic. The clinician will make laboratory investigations to know what particular germ is giving you that infection, and then assess a lot of factors. And then based on those factors, the clinician will prescribe a particular antibiotic or multiple antibiotics. So these are the steps that the clinician has to follow or follows to make sure that the antibiotics are prescribed. And hopefully these antibiotics should work if the infection is not caused by a germ that is resisting arrest. Yeah.
Okay. Generally, let's look at Ghana in our space here. What's the incidence of resistance? If we talk, let's say in percentages, how much resistance do we actually have in our space here? Is this something that we can quantify?
So that's something that actually has to be checked on a regular basis in terms of surveillance.
Okay.
And with respect to germs, you have different germs that cause different infections. So it actually depends on the disease.
Okay.
So I would talk from my standpoint of my area is gonorrhea.
Okay.
Sexually transmitted infections.
Okay.
And there are different drugs that are used to treat gonorrhea. But we've come to a point where the last effective group is not effective in several other countries. So you ask yourself, yes, it started in the Far East, moved to Europe, to the United States, and we are looking into what's going on in Ghana now. So for that, the resistant levels to gonorrhea in Ghana are very high to the generally known antibiotics, the ones that people easily go and mention their names at the pharmacies. I want penicillin, amoxicillin, and all those.
Yeah.
With amoxicillin or penicillin in Ghana, there's almost 100% resistance.
Wow.
So if you look for all the bugs, as many as you can find, it doesn't work against them.
Okay. What would you attribute as the major causative factor for this? Is it our love or perchance for just taking drugs, or we're scared of going to the hospital, so we just rather go to the pharmacy? Which I mean, in your research, what are you finding? Any of you can take it.
Okay. So with respect to that, I wouldn't say it's our love for. Most people would prefer to just take medicine because it's easier than to go to the hospital. So that's one. But in order to slow that down, we try to prevent infection in the first place. So infection control should be one of the first. For example, COVID has taught us to wash our hands much more often than we used to, and that's a good thing. And then the next step is the drugs themselves. We take antibiotics like we take paracetamol.
Okay.
Paracetamol and antibiotics are very different drugs. And so that's another thing that is driving the antibiotics resistance trend.
Okay, so let's wrap up with this. How do we prevent the germs from becoming wicked germs?
Yeah, so there are three main ways that we can all follow to prevent the spread of this resistant bug. The first is prevention of infections in the first place, because as I earlier indicated, the use of antibiotic fuel the high levels of resistant germs. So if we don't get sick in the first place to take antibiotics, these resistant germs will not emerge.
Okay.
So we can prevent infections by washing our hands during this COVID. Hand washing has been a major weapon. So we need to continue with the hand washing. Hand washing.
Even after COVID?
Even after COVID, because it will not only prevent COVID infections, but other infections, which include infections caused by resistant germs. The second is that we should avoid sharing antibiotics with family people, because you may think that you are having the same infection as a family member, even though you have similar symptoms. The agent causing the infection may be totally different. So it is not advisable to use the same antibiotic that has been used by a family member. And also, when we are giving antibiotics, we should make sure that we follow as directed, we don't take halfway and stop when we are feeling better and all that. And it's important to know that not all infections require antibiotics. So we should seek medical health care.
Definitely talk to your doctor before you take the medication.
All these things will go a long way to prevent the spread of resistant germs.
All right, okay. I want to say a big thank you to my guests, Beverly Ejir. She's with the Nokuchi, also Nike Atram as well as with Nokuchi, and we have Esther Jani, who is with Nokuchi and is also a veterinarian. Now we're going to take a look at our entertainment highlights. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Entertainment Highlights on Breakfast Daily. My name is Atu Kwamina. Roughtown Records artist Wendy Shea is at it again. Yes, the self-acclaimed queen of Ghanaian music says she saved the female music industry from dying about 2 years ago. She made the statement on Twitter when she was sending out a welcome message to Roughtown News signee Kiki Marley. She wrote, "I saved the music scene from dying 2.5 years ago when Bonnie left. They didn't want to open the door for me, but I opened it by force. With God, hard work, perseverance, humility, and loyalty. Kiki Marley, welcome to Roughtown Records. Girl power. Girl, come and do your thing cause you got it. My advice to you is to be humble and loyal. Do not go and join forces with them, then later to bring Roughtown down. That's dangerous. Go for gold. You are a star," she wrote on Twitter. Father of Mr. Easy's girlfriend asked when she'll be getting married. This all started when Temi Otedola, his daughter, collaborated in a project with her boyfriend. The fashion blogger revealed that she and her singer started a podcast which would be launching on Friday, November 20. She then promised her fans and followers that it would be fun. The fashion blogger shared a stunning photo with the singer online to make the announcement. In the photo, Temi was dressed in a black jacket matched with net trousers. Mr. Easy wore blue trousers with some black t-shirts to match. The couple lay on the floor staring into each other's eyes as they posed with silver balloons spelled "How Far Season 1," the name of the first season of the podcast. Followers of Temi reacted to the news with excitement as many people shared love emojis to show their anticipation. Meanwhile, Femi Otedola, father of Temi Otedola, commented on his daughter's lovely photo with her boyfriend and asked when she'll be getting married. And that's all for Entertainment Highlights on Breakfast Daily. My name is Atu Kwamina.
Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Daily, and we're so happy to have Asi back with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
Good. How are you guys doing?
Very good, very good. What have you been up to?
I've been here like since morning. I don't know, like maybe after the day, I'll figure out the time.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of your career and everything.
Tell us about your EP.
I just released Chapter V. That was 2-3 weeks ago. Chapter V is Chapter 5. It's a 5-track Afro soul, Afrobeat EP talking about love and its like open-ended nature. Yeah.
Interesting.
What are some of the singles on there? You've released two of them?
No, so I've released the whole 5. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
We have Chapter V, the intro. We have You Hurt Me. You have Goodbye. You have Say Something, and you have Mellow.
Hey, a lot of heartbreaks in there. Is it about love or heartbreak?
It's about the open-ended nature of love. It's about everything that comes with it.
Okay, like which one has the video?
The intro. So I just released a visualizer for the intro. Yeah.
Nice. Where do we get it?
On YouTube. Search for Asi, search for Chapter V intro. You find it.
Okay. And where do we stream the EP?
Apple Music,
Apple Music,
Spotify, SoundCloud, Aftown, Boomplay, Audiomack. Yeah, you find it everywhere.
And where do we follow you on social media?
Asi_Rini on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, yeah, Facebook even. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Asi, for being with us.
Thank you.
Chapter V. Go out there and get it. The supporter. She's really, really talented.
Yep. And if you missed any of the segments of our show today, you know what to do. Go to YouTube. We have a page there. It's called CitiTube. That's our channel. You can subscribe and click on the notification button so that you don't miss any of our videos that we put there. Like, share with your friends as well.
And don't forget to subscribe. Now, a big belated happy birthday to one of our most amazing directors, Victoria Dalali Dogbe. She turned, I think, 24 yesterday. She's one of the youngest girls on the team, and she's so talented, so gifted, and we.
24. She's a baby.
She's a baby, but she's so talented. She's a talented little baby. We wish you all the great things that the world has to offer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we'll see you same time. Tomorrow, 7:30. Please join us.
My name is Dziffa Ametam.
And I'm David Kwekusi.
Enjoy your day.
Take care.
This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Gido-Yowat. It's Wednesday, November 18th. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at Bureau headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says a 3-day ultimatum for Tigrayan leaders to surrender has expired, and he plans a push